So welcome everyone and thank you to today's webinar. My name is Michael Kerner. I'm the Banking and Lending Practice Director here at Zenify. Zenify is a proud implementation partner of Salesforce, nCino, and DocuSign, a trusted advisor to our clients and 100% dedicated to and focused on the financial services industry. Today we're presenting the power of the platform, an executive level look under the hood of seamless digital banking. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the chat box below in the control panel and we'll answer them during the Q&A session at the end. Additionally, a recorded version of this webinar will be available in the next few days. So I'm really excited to introduce today's lineup. With us today, we have Stephen Hathaway, Partner Account Executive at Salesforce, Kevin Quinlan, Area Vice President of nCino, and Jason Young, Area Vice President of DocuSign. Stephen, would you mind introducing yourself?
Thanks, Michael. Stephen Hathaway. I have been in the banking industry for the past 17 years. For the past 2 years, I've been at Salesforce. My background spans both IT and line of business experience, mostly supporting digital transformation efforts. My role with Salesforce is new this year. I'll be working directly with our partners, specifically nCino. And Kevin, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Stephen. Good morning, everyone. As Stephen said, my name is Kevin Quinlan. I'm an area vice president here at nCino in our community and regional banking business. Our goal at nCino is to enable you to onboard any customer, originate any loan, and open any deposit account across all lines of business. I'm very excited today to give you a look at our solution and discuss how we can deliver value on the Salesforce platform with our incredible partners at Zenify and DocuSign. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jason Young.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's safe and hopeful with everything that's going on. I'm happy to be here. I'm Jason Young, an Area Vice President at DocuSign on our financial services team. I've been with the organization for a little over 2 years, leading our new business group, really charged with evangelizing the DocuSign Agreement Cloud and into FinServe works we've yet to adopt the DAC platform. Prior to DocuSign, I spent just over 10 years at Amazon, a myriad of different roles, all go-to-market, consumer-facing, predominantly building and bringing new services to market. There's some synergies. The last group I was with was Amazon Alexa, where I led a team responsible for working with the country's largest financial services institutions, JPMC, Cap One, Amex, Wells, to introduce this new operating model we call Voice. And the synergies there's obviously how Voice was able to engage their consumers. And as we think about the DocuSign Agreement Cloud, it's really what we're doing is using this platform to engage in consumers in a different way. I'm excited to be here today. As a top app exchange ISV partner, we've got a long history of working with banking customers, obviously in partnership with Salesforce, nCino, and Zenify, to help them streamline processes from front office to the back of office, helping organizations maximize their investments that they've already made into their tech stack, and really help them to do the work in the technologies that they're already doing the work in. So very happy to be here.
Thank you, Jason. So to kick things off and set the stage, what I'd like to have is the panelists, Stephen, Kevin, and Jason, just kind of talk through a little bit around the Iberia bank journey.
Yeah, I'll kick things off. Thanks, Michael. So my experience in banking was with, I'd say, mid-tier regional banks, typically around $30 billion in assets. In some cases, right, 100-plus-year-old institutions. They evolved around a legacy core solution and then had multiple bolt-on point solution applications supporting particular lines of business or functions. And in some cases, the application counts numbered into the hundreds, and by hundreds, in some cases, 400, 450. So swivel chairing was common across multiple applications. The green screen still persisted. Business intelligence teams worked really hard to build data lakes, data cubes, aggregate data sources, and generate reports and metrics, KPIs, really provide insight to employees and executives across the organization. I went from project to project for years, implementing these point solutions across a host of business lines, touched probably every line of business, right? Digital transformation 1.0, scheduling solutions, online account opening, loan origination, business intelligence tools, pricing solutions. There were, in the lending world, there was a myriad of processes and systems for managing the lending process, whether small business, C&I, CRE. At the higher lending limits, often it was an email and PDF-based process. And the treasury teams were pretty independent and operated a little separate from the commercial teams. So that was the situation. A few years back, I had the opportunity to get introduced to Salesforce, as well as the partner ecosystem, met with organizations like Zenify, solution providers like nCino, DocuSign, other providers in the App Exchange as well. So the Salesforce nCino implementation combined all geographic markets, all business lending, from small business all the way through to the largest commercial deals. It also included nCino's treasury management solution. So I had a chance to meet and work alongside these teams, working with Michael, Jason, Kevin, and really, got a lot of value from that experience. Kevin, do you have some comments that you remember from the inception of that project?
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. I think you covered a lot of it, but, and you know better than anyone at the time, Iberia was growing quickly and wanted to really continue that trajectory, but had really reached a point where they needed a solution to provide real end-to-end transparency across the lending process, across all markets that they were operating in. And that's exactly what the Salesforce nCino solution provided.
Yeah, and when the project went live, the rewards of deploying a scalable solution like nCino on the Salesforce platform, they were immediate and they were drastic. Days in process time for loans was reduced. Staffing burdens and workloads for the underwriting teams was greatly reduced. Tracking, reporting, metrics, those capabilities increased across the board. Pricing consistency, tracking total exposure, the approval process being automated, delivering mobile capabilities across that experience, covenant tracking, lots of things were improved. A couple of other real interesting things happened post-deployment. For me personally, I generated a strong interest in the Salesforce platform, the idea of developing solutions using clicks, not code, and leveraging an enterprise platform to meet the digital transformation needs of financial services organizations, especially across all the lines of business, really appealed to me. Organizationally, adoption sort of took the same shape. Other lines of business began to think about leveraging the platform. HR onboarding, project management teams, analytics capabilities, aggregating disparate data sources into Salesforce, employee case management. A lot of other concepts started to center around a common platform. When I joined Salesforce, I got to see a lot more of that. Things like IT service management, contingency planning, audit tracking, against those other lines of business, but not to mention nCino's expanding solutions as well. Online and branch account opening, retail lending, and treasury management. So that's a lot. What gets me really excited about the power of the platform, especially in financial services, is how it changed that legacy core and multiple point solution model and really started to bring a unifying common platform that brought the users together, and it created a consistent experience. And PPP is a really great example of this. When PPP happened, there were some amazing transformation stories of organizations having to shift upwards of 80% of their staff to support PPP processing. And when they were doing that on a common platform, they were able to do it a lot smoother. The Salesforce organization and the Salesforce platform, with all these solutions, gave these organizations the ability and the agility to respond to PPP in a way that a legacy core and an LOS solution could not. So coming up, we're going to look at an end-to-end platform scenario. We're going to look at Financial Services Cloud from Salesforce, nCino's commercial banking solution integrated with DocuSign. And this will be a really great example of leveraging multiple connected experiences across a single unifying platform. Jason, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, thanks. I don't have too much more to add here, but I do think this comes full circle with the theme of the power of the platform. Like the Salesforce ecosystem provided a great tech foundation for Iberia to move quickly, so that when COVID hit last March, they were agile enough and had the ability to pivot and bring DocuSign in to round out that end-to-end workflows, or those end-to-end workflows for PPP and loan forgiveness. So I just, kind of reiterating a lot of what Stephen and Kevin said, just the power of this platform and the relationships that the three companies have, and then obviously with Zenify, DocuSign acts as that kind of that glue that ties all these really important pieces of tech together, right, for that complete end-to-end platform.
Thank you all for that example of how these three solutions come together that came together to transform Iberia Bank. So thank you. So now let's cover some interesting industry trends. We don't need to discuss them all, but from 2019 to 2020, some of these are interesting to me because as long as I can remember, improving the customer experience was always number one. Stephen, why do you think these rankings have changed so much over the year?
Just like the example with PPP, and this is a fairly recent study. This is a Salesforce industry study where Salesforce has gone out and surveyed hundreds of customers on the platform. And I think in the recent history, there were so many changes that happened in the middle and back office operations over the past year. And right, hats off to the teams that had to deal with all of those, right? Full-time remote workers, video meeting capabilities and security, bandwidth and VPN concerns, right? All the way down to issuing laptops and so much more. There were a lot of organizations that transformed during the early stages of the pandemic in light of being in the middle of crisis. And there were a lot that used brute force to sort of ride it out that are now looking to execute on that backlog. And I think what we're seeing in the statistics is, right, those back office and middle office operations are really moving to the forefront of making sure that they really solidify that digital transformation for that common, I want to say user experience, but employee experience as well.
Thank you, Stephen. So next, let's take a look at why customers are choosing the Salesforce platform. These are some interesting and impressive. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So these are some impressive stats, Stephen. Could you help us understand how financial institutions can gain from these types of efficiencies?
Sure. I won't spend too much time on this one, but definitely from an ROI perspective and gaining value, there's a purpose-built platform and a vast ecosystem here that delivers focused solutions for financial institutions. Leveraging the Salesforce ecosystem over the past several years, the Financial Services Cloud specific innovations, the partner innovations and solutions, and whether it's user collaboration, customer engagement, right, getting analytics and insights to users, chatbots that are industry specific, those things really help less time developing and really faster time to value. And Zenify can attest to seeing organizations moving through transformation journeys in weeks, not months or years. So the speed to value is increased. And then you add things like innovation with products like Tableau CRM, Community Cloud, other verticalized solutions that are building innovations for the future. And so these really help deliver value for our customers.
Absolutely. So now let's see what I want to get into is how these three solutions connect across the entire client lifecycle. But before we jump into the demo and set the stage, I wanted to ask Jason a question. During our conversations, you mentioned this concept that I'm really interested in this anywhere economy. Would you mind elaborating on that for a little bit?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, as we think about what happened last year, and as we kind of collectively move past or into a post-pandemic world, there are a lot of unknowns. Certainly some anxiety for sure. But what we do know is our customers, our consumers, their expectations are rising. All right, they were introduced to a new way of getting stuff done last year, and they're not going to want to go back. Right, this idea that consumers want to engage with us really at any time, from anywhere, on any device. Right, it's not a new concept, but it's front and center now. It's being accelerated. Right, so this shift is what we're calling the anywhere economy. And really, it's why I'm excited about this joint platform. We're giving customers, the ability to engage on their terms. Right, as platform providers or technologists or whatever you want to call us, sometimes we like to make things a little bit more difficult than they need to be. And if we boil this down and simplify it, right, we start with the customer, the consumer, and we work backwards. They want to be able to do business on their terms, right, when it suits them really, I think this platform is enabling that in a really scalable way. In as Stephen and Kevin have talked about, it's not a ton of work to stand up and get started. So really excited about the platform.
Very good, thank you. So now, in order to demonstrate the power of the platform, we'll be viewing this through the story of Krista Shelton. To begin, the Salesforce platform allows us to complete a complete client 360 profile as to better understand Krista's financial relationship with her bank as an individual, as in her household, with all of her businesses that she may own or be affiliated with. In this case, Krista is the owner of a small coffee shop chain, which she's looking to expand. Upon understanding a complete picture, we're then better able to offer her the right set of services and products, direct her to the right person within the bank. Through nCino's loan origination system built directly on top of Salesforce, a relationship manager is able to originate her loan directly inside of nCino and send documentation to Krista's email via DocuSign. So Krista is able to quickly get the funding she needs, open up that additional coffee location in the Southeast. Now, as her business expands and her needs expand, we're able to offer her the flexibility to get in touch with her and to understand her wants across multiple communication channels. As times change, whether that's a major life event or new products and services, the bank will be able to pivot quickly and roll out new application processes built and delivered on the Salesforce, nCino, and DocuSign platforms. Now, with that being said, let's dive into the demo. Eric, would you mind to kick us off?
Thank you, team, for that kind introduction. As the group said, my name is Eric Pichetti. I'm a lead solution engineer at Salesforce, and I work exclusively within the financial services industry. I'm here today to showcase to you all the power of Financial Services Cloud when put into the hands of different individuals within every line of business at your banking institution. In addition to that, what you'll see is how you can also extend Financial Services Cloud within Salesforce's incredible partner ecosystem through our friends over at nCino and DocuSign. That said, what you see here is me logged into Salesforce as a personal banker. And with my own role-specific dashboard, I have all of the information that has been readily available and surfaced up to me based on who I am within the institution. So based on my username and password and role, that dictates every type of information that I have access to and what capabilities I can do. So in other words, here I have my own personalized home dashboard and key pieces of information in order for me to know how I'm tracking to my key KPIs and metrics. But in addition to that, I can also get a better understanding of what I need to do in order to impact that overall performance. So as an example here, as a personal banker, I could see how I'm tracking to new deposits to goal. I could see what my existing referral pipeline looks like across other lines of business at the bank. In addition to that, I could see how I'm tracking comparatively to my peers across the different activities that I may be logging directly inside the system, as well as how does my overall conversion rate look like across those different groups and across those different sources. If I were perhaps an executive logging into the system, I may perhaps get a dashboard like this, where it's a little bit more of that 30,000 foot view, where I could see more globally in aggregate, what does the overall pipeline look like on the consumer side of the house? What do the activities look like across all of my personal bankers or relationship managers? What does that look like on the commercial side of the house? Just as an example. But going back, I'm just a personal banker. I see all of my specific information here in the system, as well as all of the leads and referrals that are coming through and being generated off of online web forms and our automated drip campaigns, as well as any other tasks that have either been assigned to me by another team member, maybe a reminder task that I've assigned for myself, or a system-generated task that is flowed over from here as well. We also offer that native integration to Outlook and Gmail, so I could see all of my meeting invitations directly here in a single system. In this instance, I know that later today I have a meeting with Krista Shelton, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up her record to do a little bit of digging and do a little bit of homework. And here, this is where Salesforce is able to showcase the power of Client 360. And what we mean by that is immediately at a glance, I can see who is Krista Shelton to our financial institution. So I could better understand her overall financial accounts with us. What type of servicing category do we currently categorize her as? When was the last time we interacted with her? When's the next time we're interacting with her? In addition to that, I could also see any other recent transactions that have cleared, as well as perhaps where we categorize her from a marketing demographic standpoint, so that she's getting the key pieces of information based on what segment she falls into. I could also see at a glance my available white space based on her existing product portfolio with us. And then in addition to that, I could also see on a more personal level the major life events that we are tracking for Krista. Things like her birthday, graduation, any vehicles or houses that she may own, any children that she may have, any businesses she may be affiliated with. These are incredible life events in this example, so that I could better deepen my personal relationship with her, but also be mindful of any potential financial opportunities to partner with her on as she goes through her life. Now, of course, this being on a Krista Shelton, more on the consumer lens, these are specific life events, but we'll showcase a little bit later on what those look like from a more commercial side of the house. If I go a little bit further down here, I could see all of her different financial accounts that she has with us across lines of business at our bank. So I could see things like all the different bank accounts that she may have, any credit cards that she may have with us, any loans she may currently have, investments, insurance, assets and liabilities, so on and so forth. These are all part of the standard Financial Services Cloud data model that comes so that I can surface up all of this information from your core and third-party systems. So I have that complete 360-degree view of Krista directly here in a single screen. In addition to that, I could also better understand not only who is Krista as an individual, but what does that look like when we start to expand out that network through our householding capabilities? So things like who is Krista not only across her immediate or nuclear household, so her children, her spouse, but also any other businesses that she may possibly be either own. In this instance, she's the owner of a Port City Coffee franchise coffee shop, but also any other institutions or companies or key centers of influence that she may be affiliated with as well. So again, just like with those life events, I can not only have a deepened personal relationship with her, but also better understand how I can expand our footprint, and so that I can better understand what other financial partnership opportunities exist with Krista, her family, and all the other businesses and entities that she may be affiliated with. When I combine those two components, I'm able to better understand and surface up, roll up specific information so I could see how am I better serving the overall Shelton household. And in addition to that, what does that look like across other entities within her circle? And in this example, I've been able to get all of the information that I need. I'm sitting down with Krista. I have a good sense of what questions to ask, what to anticipate. And lo and behold, while meeting with her, she shares that she's interested in opening up a third Port City Coffee location. Now, being just a personal banker, whether I'm very tenured within the role or perhaps starting off new within the system, maybe I don't know exactly all the different offerings that I could share with her right away. Instead of sending an email, not being able to provide the right information in a prompt and proactive way, I could instead search here directly on the screen for any specific commercial lending types of offerings and descriptions that I could recite to her right there on the spot, whether I'm meeting with her in person, having a Zoom call with her, calling her over the phone. I have all of those scripts directly here within the system where I can surface that up and speak to her in all those different components. And in this example, we'll say that she's excited about all the different things that we could do, but she really wants to get into the hands of the right expert at the bank. Again, instead of having to send an email out to a distribution channel, hoping that it gets to the right person, hoping that it gets picked up, and not being able to see where do things progress within that process, I could instead go ahead and create that referral directly here inside of Financial Services Cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new lead and referral. I'm going to recite what her expressed interest is so that RM knows what they're getting themselves into and what to anticipate. I'll put in a little bit of a description so that they understand what's going to take place. My name gets tagged to this referrer and carries forward as that referral gets converted into an opportunity and eventually a closed loan with the bank, so that I get credit over the course of that process. So whether your institution is running any particular incentive programs across lines of business, this is a very powerful tool that comes native with Financial Services Cloud. In addition to that, if I wanted to assign it to a specific RM that I know that I'm affiliated or work directly with, I can go ahead and do that. Or in this example, I'm just going to leave it blank and let the system's predefined routing rules bring it to the right person with the right expertise so that they can get in touch with Krista. Before saving this, I'm going to also go ahead and log all of my notes and interactions with her directly here inside of the system. I'm going to go ahead and save that to that activity timeline, which is able to memorialize every single interaction that's taken place across the bank so that I'm able to better understand and see who's had what types of conversations with her, what types of meetings, what does that look like, and what does the content look like of all of that as well. So I don't have any type of short-term memory loss before going over to engage with her, and I can ensure that Krista, regardless of who she may be interacting with across the bank, is having the same exact experience and is picking up exactly where she left off from the previous interaction. So now I'm going to go ahead and flip over into the same Financial Services Cloud, but logged in as a relationship manager inside of the bank. So now again, I have a different username and password. I'm switching hats to a relationship manager. And because of who I am within the system, I have a slightly different experience. Again, tailored to each individual so that you are optimizing not only their experience, but their effectiveness inside of this tool. So here I'm logged in as a relationship manager. You'll notice that my dashboard has changed with specific metrics directly relatable to me, so I could better understand how I'm tracking on new loans funded to goal, what does my overall commercial loan pipeline look like, so on and so forth. If I wanted to get a little bit more of a granularized view of what does my pipeline look like across the different stages that I may be tracking these things in, I can go ahead and do that, as well as keeping front and center all of the opportunities that I currently have set to close for this month. While here, I'll see all of the referrals that have been assigned to me through that system's direct routing rules. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Krista Shelton to begin better understanding what I can do to give her a call. In this example, I'm able to see all of that specific information that my personal banker was able to leave for me. I could see the related entity or account that she's affiliated with. I have what I need. I'm going to go ahead and jump on the call right away. As I'm talking with her, I'm able to better understand and progress her through the overall lead and referral pipeline and process. And I'm going to go ahead and flip over into her Port City Coffee company record page, which again, because I'm an RM logged into the system, I'm able to see specific white space opportunities that we may have with this entity, as well as those major business milestones in this example, so that I could better understand what that looks like for overall financial partnership opportunities. If I go a little bit further here, I'm going to be able to go ahead and convert this into an active opportunity, which we're going to go ahead and start looking at what we need to do in order to progress this forward into the process. I could see what current pipeline stage it's sitting at, where in the background we're able to track all the different turnaround time and key throughput metrics so that we could better understand operational opportunities for efficiencies, which we'll showcase in just a few moments later. But in this example, I have all the key details that I may need, and I need to go ahead and progress forward into the loan origination stage. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and click on the nCino loan button and showcase how instead of having to swivel chair to a different system, I'm able to originate and really conduct the entire loan process end to end through the partnership with nCino. So I'm going to turn it over to that team, specifically Catherine McCoy, to go ahead and take it away and showcase what we can do with the power of nCino to originate this loan for Port City Coffee.
Thank you, Eric. Now that Krista has said yes to moving forward with this expansion, we can convert this opportunity into a new loan or into a new product package directly from the opportunity record. But before we do that, let's take a look at Port City Coffee's client profile to get a good sense of our relationship with them. So directly on the relationship page, you'll notice a couple of things first and foremost. Right at the top of my screen, I'm able to see relationship connections. Now, these are virtual connections that are coming over from the core or other transactional systems that you're using today. And it provides us with a view to be able to see how certain entities are related. So directly from here, I can see Krista is the owner of Port City Coffee, and she owns that full and outright. I can also see that there is an affiliated company with Port City Coffee, Acme Inc. here. I can also see any pertinent details about our relationship with Port City Coffee, their industry, their website, the type of employee, or sorry, the type of customer that they are, annual review, where they're located. And all of this information I'll be able to use as we continue to do deals and business with them in the future. Under my products and services tab, this is going to give me a good view into that 360-degree view relationship with our customer, Port City Coffee. I can see things like the deals and product packages, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. I can also see any loans or deposits or treasury services that they may have with us as well. Within this loan list, I can see what stage the loan is in, if they're booked or in flight. I can also view information such as the principal balance. Under credit resources, I'm going to be able to view things like exposure. Now, exposure is flexible and configurable, like many things within the nCino platform. But the idea here is to show you that we can give you a good view into a total exposure summary, where we'll be able to see things like our direct versus indirect debts, what's affiliated. Now, you'll drive these calculations the way that you would like to see them and present them here for you. Within the relationship, we can also view information like relationship collateral. So this is giving me a list of all of the collateral that's tied directly back to Port City Coffee. You can see that we have various types that will all be driven based off of your collateral universe. And if I elect to show pledged, I can see what loans are associated back with this piece of real estate, for example. I'm able to see the amount that's pledged, the combined percent pledged, and the advance rate, as well as the lien position. If I wanted to drill down into any one of these collateral records, I certainly could and get a little more granular with the details that sit behind it. Much like collateral, we can manage and measure covenants at the relationship and the individual facility level as well. So you'll notice that we do have a handful of covenants currently active for Port City Coffee. We're able to see things like financial indicators. Those are, of course, being calculated from our financial analysis tool and checked against on a nightly basis, things like our debt service coverage and our current ratios. We can also track things like financial statements. So if I pop open this covenant record here, this is going to give me a little more detail about this specific covenant. I can see when the last evaluation date was, and then when the next evaluation date is that's coming due. And in turn, this is going to calculate days until next evaluation. Now, there's lots of things that we can do with that information. We can set up notifications for our internal users of the system whenever they do have a covenant that's coming up for one of their customers. We can also send out reminders directly to our customer through an email or even through the nCino customer portal, which we'll take a look at in just a minute. Of course, all of this information we can roll up into a meaningful and useful report and dashboard like you see here. So any field of data that we're capturing within the nCino system, we're going to be able to create, again, these real-time reports. So this is going to give me a view into all of the covenants that I have coming due, possibly in the next 30 or 60, 90 days. Again, this is just a really great tool for me to use in order to stay compliant when we think about things like our covenants. All right. So from here, what I want to do is just jump back into that opportunity that Eric showed us earlier. We're going to go ahead and convert that into a deal or a product package. Now, keeping in mind that all of this information that we've captured on the opportunity record is going to push forward into the loan origination process. So what that means for you is that you're no longer having to key in information as it relates to CRM and then do that swivel chair and rekey all of that same data into our loan origination platform. Everything is seamless. It's one platform. All of the information that we'll capture at that opportunity level is going to pull forward. And we'll see that in just a minute. So simply what I'm doing now is selecting the product package I want to use. I could go ahead and create a new deal, or if I wanted to use one that's existing, I can certainly continue on with that as well. So we'll continue on with this selected item. This is just going to make sure that we have all of our conversion details keyed in accurately, the new loan name, and then of course the related entities that we're tying back to this facility. So Port City Coffee, of course, in this case is going to be that borrower. So we'll go ahead and convert, and this is going to take me directly into what we call a deal or a product package. So just high level to really just give you a good understanding of what a deal or product package is. nCino is able to organize multiple concurrent credit requests, large complex credit deals and structures into a single package, leveraging our deal or product package functionality. The deal level within nCino is going to provide you with an aggregated view of all of the products, facilities, related entities, and exposure in a single view. Now, these facilities that you see here can be worked on individually, or they can certainly be worked on at that product package level. Now, this is a list of all of the facilities that are included in this credit package. They can be filtered based on what's active or inactive, pending or non-pending. And the information about each and every one of these facilities is presented here, and it's also configurable based on your organization's preferences and business requirements. If I had a loan that had structures or carve-outs, I could see that here as well. So for example, if you had a very large loan with several sublimits and limits, all of that would be visible for me at this level. nCino too would also be able to represent here if any of these loans were originated in a variety of currencies. The platform would be able to display the lending currency on the loan and the conversion rate for the user or corporate currency. Now, nCino not only supports new loan origination, but also renewals and modifications, being able to set up multiple credit actions on all eligible loans within a deal from a single view. Now, don't worry about this orange bar here. That's just letting me know that some loans in this package aren't eligible for a credit action because they're still being underwritten. I'm able to make my selection of which action I want to take on all of the available loans, and the system will create those records for me. So right from here, for this Port City Coffee CRE3 loan, I could initiate a renewal or a modification. It will create that new record for me. And at the same time, I could also go ahead and select a review type. Maybe I wanted to do an annual review on the existing and remaining exposure for these other facilities within the Port City Coffee deal. Now, what I'm going to do next is just jump into an individual facility to show some of the additional features and functionality of the platform. So let's use that loan that we just converted from the opportunity into this product package, and that can be found right here. So now this is taking me over to that virtual loan file or record. So the product type that's been selected is going to drive numerous things. The business process or workflow that happens, you can see here across the top of my screen with the staging. It's going to also drive compliance requirements and documentation requirements, the fields of data that I'm collecting within the loan detail section. And we'll get to that in just a second. But maybe one of the first things that I want to do is update my borrowing structure. So understanding that Krista is the owner of Port City Coffee, we certainly want to go ahead and add that entity involvement here and establish how she is connected to this particular deal that we're working on. Now, what's great about this process is that the system's smart enough to go back and look at those relationship connections and provide me with a list of suggested relationships to leverage. Now, what that means for me is because we know and understand our relationship with Port City Coffee and Krista, we're not going to have to repeat any information here. All we need to do is establish her borrower type and contingent type. And once that information is keyed in, we can certainly go ahead and save that entity involvement. And just like that, our borrowing structure has been successfully updated. Now we can continue on with this process tree on the left-hand side that you see. One thing that's unique that I'll point out, remember all of the data that we captured at that opportunity record that Eric just walked through is again being pushed into this loan record. So the amount that's been requested, the projected close date, the product line and type, all of that information is available here for me at my fingertips. Now, I won't belabor the keying in of data today, but we can certainly see where as this loan continues to be in flight, we can capture other pertinent information and details about the request. We can establish a rate and payment structure. So all of that information is available for me here to update. Now, one of the next things that I just want to talk about is our documentation requirements. Now, Document Manager within nCino is dynamically built. So what I mean by that, depending on your business process and of course the product type that you're originating, that's going to drive the document placeholders that you see here. So the idea is that this really takes the guesswork out of this entire process. One thing that I'll point out when I mentioned that this is a dynamic document manager, when we added Krista Shelton here as a guarantor on the deal, it updated this documentation checklist to include 2 personal tax returns that we're going to need to collect from her. So again, it's really making this whole process of what types of documents I need easier to understand and to view here. Now, there are several ways that we can add documents into our document placeholder because nCino, Port City Coffee is an existing relationship. We can certainly look to see if there are any kind of documents that we can drag over from that relationship. So therefore, we're not having to go back out to Krista and ask her for documents that we've already asked for. We can also certainly drag and drop documents into the appropriate placeholder from a desktop. If you had a customer that came into the financial institution and they handed over a copy of a document and you scan that into your computer, you could certainly drag and drop in that fashion. However, there is another way that we can obtain these documentation requirements, and that's through the nCino customer portal. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and initiate these documentation requests for these personal tax returns through the nCino customer portal. And once I do that, I'm going to really look through the lens of your customer and show you what it looks like when we have those types of documentation requirements come through. So here in just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and transition into the customer view and show you what that looks like. So again, as promised, what we wanted to take a look at is the nCino customer portal through Krista's eyes. Now, from those documentation requests, she likely received an email notification letting her know that she did have a few documents that needed to be uploaded. Now, directly from that email, we can embed a link that would drive her directly to the nCino customer portal. Now, from a branding perspective, all of this will look like a seamless transition from your website into her dashboard, where at the very top of the page here, you'll notice that she does have items under her to-do list. Now, these are the documents that we required for her to upload, and we can do that directly from the comfort of her own home. So for these personal tax returns, she can very easily drag and drop them in the appropriate placeholder. And what's happening in the background is this is dropping into the document manager, and we'll see how all of that looks and comes together here in just a second. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to transition away from the customer portal. We'll go back into that banker view and show you what it looks like when we do have that documentation requirement come through the nCino customer portal. So back here in the banker view on the document manager, I am able to see that document has come through. You'll notice that the status has changed from open to awaiting review. Now, likely what will happen is a notification will be sent to whomever's responsible for reviewing and approving these documents. They'll be able to come into the document manager, review that information, and then status that back accordingly. Now, if this is the document that we've asked for and it looks good, great, we can go ahead and mark that as an approval. We can also track document exceptions too, and we can certainly message that back to our customers. But now that the status has been marked as approved, we'll know that this was the actual document that's going to be used to underwrite the loan. Now, just really quickly, a couple of other things I'll point out. Again, we talked through collateral and covenants at the relationship level, but we can certainly manage those here at the individual facility level as well. So for example, when I'm ready to go ahead and add collateral, again, much like we saw with how the borrowing structure functionality works, we can see that it does provide us with a list of all collateral that we currently have with Port City Coffee and what we can use to pledge against this request. So maybe we want to go ahead and continue on with this piece of real estate here. And again, the process is going to be very simple because we already know and understand the collateral that we're working with. So all we're going to need to do is fill out a couple of fields of data. Of course, we want to establish the appropriate lien position, the amount that's pledged, and we want to go ahead and authorize that pledge amount. And just with that, we'll notice that this has updated in real time, and we can also see that collateral summary update as well. With the covenants, much like the collateral, we can certainly come in and we can add existing covenants from our Port City Coffee relationship, as well as add brand new covenants here as well. So that's something that can be done, again, directly here from the loan level. So it will just drive us through the process where we can select a relationship to get started, and then we could certainly start to build out our covenants that are tied directly back to this loan here. So now what I want to go ahead and do, let's assume that we have collected the appropriate documentation and details that we need for underwriting. I can go ahead and mark this stage as complete. It's going to transition into our credit underwriting stage, and a couple of things will happen in the background. Of course, we're going to want to notify our credit team that we do have a loan that's ready to begin the financial analysis. So all of that business process and workflow will be predefined in your environment. So we'll go ahead and transition over to look at some of the additional functionality as it relates to underwriting. Now, let's fast forward a bit. We've collected all of the documents and information that we need to complete underwriting. Let's take a look here at the SMART checklist and see what action items need to take place within this stage. Now, SMART checklist is going to allow for your users to keep up with tasks related to the loan origination process that are in addition to documentation requirements. Now, these items can be filtered on the user or by the stage. They can be assigned to other users with the correct permission sets. So for example, here in the credit underwriting stage, I can see that there are 3 items that need to go ahead and be complete before we can send them over to approval, and who's going to be held accountable to get that kind of stuff done. So I do have one item here for my financial analysis that is assigned to me. So what I can do directly from the loan record is launch the financial analysis. So rather than having to go to an external spreading and financial analysis solution, or sometimes even multiple spreading solutions, I can simply launch nCino spreads directly from the loan that I'm working on. Now, not only is this going to save our credit analyst time, it's also going to reduce the IT burden of maintaining other solutions for spreading. Now, not only has this opened up our spreads for Port City Coffee, but it's also opened up those for Krista Shelton as well. So what that means is I'm not going to have to go to one or more spreading solutions and spend time searching for each customer I want to analyze one by one, and then try to bring them together using some type of Excel or other method. I can do all of this from one click of a button within nCino. If I had multiple co-borrowers or guarantors or other related entities, those would all be available in that drop-down list that you just saw. Now, I'm not going to ask you to watch me key in spreads today because we do have a lot of other topics to cover. But what I want to focus on is what makes our spreading and financial analysis unique. So with that said, I just want to talk about what I meant when I said industry template a moment ago. Now, while most spreading point solutions have some variation of industry template concepts that covers different income statement and balance sheet charts of accounts, ratios, and other analytics, nCino's approach to that is unique. So really, there are 3 key points that I want to make here. We do offer 16 plus different out-of-the-box industry templates that allow our clients to spread financials for personal, small business, corporate, commercial real estate, and many others. And you get those templates as part of our typical implementation. Now, in addition, you can alter those templates in any way you want via configuration. We've talked quite a bit about configuration today, but again, what that means is clicks, not code. And with this configuration capability, you're going to be able to add specific line items to a template, alter up or add ratios or change cash flow approaches that match the way you prefer to analyze specific customer types according to your credit policy and your credit culture. Now, lastly, and maybe most importantly, you can configure your own industry templates, meaning if you need to have templates 17, 18, and 19 to cover some specific deal types or customer types that you have in your portfolio, you can 100% configure those templates with or without our help. We will train you to build and make changes on your own so you can act quickly to your needs. Now, again, like I mentioned, I won't ask you to watch me key in spreads today, but what we do want to show you is something we released as part of our fall 2020 release. We introduced an efficiency game changer, empowering the intelligent enterprise. And with that, we're going to demo for you our auto spreading capability. nCino's automated spreading leverages machine learning and statistical support processes. By extracting structured and unstructured data from financial statements and tax returns and populating it in nCino spreads, auto spreading reduces errors and streamlines the entire underwriting process. Now, whether your prospect or client has uploaded their financials via nCino's customer portal, like perhaps Krista has done in this example, or the documents are added by a banker who received a copy from the client via email or scanning a hard copy, our process for auto spreading is quick and simple. Now, directly from my spreads template, I can go ahead and launch into auto spreading. Now, auto spreading can spread financials from company prepared to audits to 10Ks and even Microsoft Excel files. And even better, it can do that across 200 different languages. Now, since the financial periods need to be detected, we can go ahead and start that process. I'm going to go ahead and add this as 12/31/2020. And what's going to happen is that those financial periods have been detected on the balance sheet. And the only thing that's left for me to do is complete the period attributes for 2020, similar to how I would create that period in nCino spreads, notating that it is a tax return and it is a fiscal year, and also the selected scale will be in actual dollars. Now, one thing I just want to point out as we start to map the data over is that you'll notice back on our spreads, we have the periods for 16, 17, 18, and 19, and you'll see all of this happen in real time. Instead of that 30 to 45 minutes of rekeying this data manually using my 10 key, nCino has now read the contents of this document. And as you'll notice, it's mapped each line item into a spreads category in a matter of seconds. Now, the ability to review the auto spreading results is very intuitive. On the left-hand side of my screen, I can see the relevant pages that were detected. In the middle, we have the actual financial document. And then on the right, we'll have all of the output from the document and the mapping to the spreads categories. Now, items that have been mapped to a category automatically we'll be able to see and display a check mark against them on the document. If a line item has not been mapped, it will be flagged for review with the orange triangle like you see here. Now, just a little bit about the financial mapping. If I need to add in any line items, if I need to make adjusting entries, inverse the values, or even reorder the periods, I can quickly make those changes here in bulk. Or I could do that line by line as well using this actions drop down that you see here on the mapping screen. Now, the only thing that's left to do at this point is to post our data into nCino spreads. So let's launch spreads and see that happen in real time. We now get the update that the periods have successfully posted into our financial analysis. So if I click over into our spreads template that we've been working on, I can see that what it's done, it's created the period and placed all of that data into the spreads. With that posted, I instantly have all of my cash flow and ratio analysis ready to review alongside the 16, 17, 18, and 19 results that were previously spread. So hopefully, as you can see, auto spreading gives financial institutions some very key advantages over traditional manual approaches. And best of all, it requires almost no setup due to being natively available on the nCino platform and tightly coupled with Document Manager and with spreads. Now that we've completed our underwriting, let's go ahead and move forward with the approval process. Now, directly from my tools and actions, what I'm going to be able to do is action this loan out for approval. Now, once this has been actioned out for approval, a few things are going to happen in the background. Now, for one, the record will be locked so that no changes can be made. And most importantly, the approver is going to get a notification both on their home page, like you see here. So there's that loan that's just been routed for approval. Now, the approver can approve the deal or the loan in the platform if they're actively in the system, or they can even respond directly to an email notification that will be sent, yes, no, approved, or rejected, as they're likely familiar with the loan and the decision can be updated automatically. So we'll go ahead and approve this loan here. Now, there's multiple approval processes that can be built into the nCino platform. For this example, we can see that loan has been approved just from that one approver. However, if there is a need for the loan to go out to committee, for example, that's certainly something that we can build in and predefined, and that can be based off of a number of factors. The type of product that we're originating, the product amount, etc. But all of those can be built in to meet your needs for this specific loan or deal that you are working on. Now, we have seen a lot of input that goes into the system, and you may be wondering what that output looks like. We do have an integrated credit memo that can auto feed from related processes like covenant monitoring or spreading analysis from nCino. We can create certain templates for different types of loans or deals, such as commercial annual reviews, which would be a shorter form, net new business, net new money request, full form, short form. But the key takeaway here is that all of the data that's been captured up front, whether that's been input directly into nCino or coming from upstream or downstream integrations, all will seamlessly roll up into this credit memo that's going to be used for approval. Now, this means for you, there's no rekeying of data. The integrity of the data will remain because there's no risk in miskeying something. And a once very manual process can be more digitized and consistent. Now, the key benefit here is that nCino provides the foundation with the credit memo and provides the flexibility for your financial institution to really get as customized as you need it to be. So let's hop back into this loan. Now, once a loan has been fully approved, it's going to transition here into some of the final stages of the loan life cycle. Now, according to our SMART checklist here, if I want to just check out what happens in this proposal stage, we'll notice that we do need to go ahead and send out a commitment letter to our borrower. Now, leveraging nCino's forms generation tool, we can generate this document directly into the document manager, and we can continue on with a straight through process by leveraging one of nCino's productized integrations with DocuSign. So let's take a look at how that would work. So again, from my tools and actions, I can go ahead and generate a form. Now what's happening is that this is going to drop directly into Document Manager for me to take action from there. here we can see that the document has dropped into the appropriate placeholder within Document Manager, and we can simply select the document that we want to go ahead and prepare for eSignature. Once we've gone ahead and actioned that out, what we're going to be able to see is the document in its entirety, and that it's also been properly tagged, and we can ensure that we're getting everything signed and initialed before the executed documents are sent back to us. So now what we'll do is simply send out for e-signatures. And what will happen is we'll get a pop-up message that is letting us know that we do have the ability to go ahead and add in a custom message. So maybe I'll tell Krista to please review and sign. And then once we have updated that custom message, we can go ahead and send over those documents. And we'll see that we do have a success notification that's letting me know the required signers have been notified to e-sign those documents. So Krista will get that email notification, and we'll continue on from there. So quickly, we're going to take a look here through the lens of your customer and show you what the email looks like that Krista will receive within her inbox. She can review the document and sign where needed. And once this is complete, the document will be pushed back into nCino's Document Manager for review. Now, keep in mind that this both DocuSign and nCino are mobile friendly. So this entire process could be completed from Krista's mobile device. Here we can see that the document has been fully executed. It is now in that e-signature bucket within Document Manager. And we can take a look at this and review it just for confirmation. But as you can see, leveraging an integration such as DocuSign with nCino can increase speed to close, reduce error rates, as well as reduce overall cost of sending out documentation requirements in a manual paper-based fashion. Now from here, simply what we could do is transition into the final stages of the loan life cycle. Now this could include, for example, document preparation with an integration to your document prep provider. The generation of legal documents can be initiated directly from nCino. And of course, we could streamline the process with DocuSign there as well. And then finally, into our closing stages, where we can leverage reporting, smart checklists, policy exceptions to make sure that the loan or product is ready to close. Booking to the core or trading service platform could be automated using an integration as well. Now, once Krista receives funding to open up her third location, the loan is booked, we can turn it back over to Eric to showcase how within the same system, Insight Financial is able to help her for all of her general servicing needs as she works to open up the new location. So Eric, we'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. So through the power of nCino, that relationship manager was able to, within the same application, quickly originate and disperse the funding necessary to get Krista the support that she needs in order to actually expand her Port City Coffee franchise. And here, in returning to that business record page, I could see that those business milestones have been actualized, where she's able to start the process of opening up her third location because she was able to receive that funding. In addition, I could also see that loan reflective here on her financial accounts page as well for reference in the future. And I could start the process of building out her hierarchy or subsidiary model here within those different entities, where I can see her existing footprint over in New York, in California, and I could start the process of partnering with her to better understand who she's hiring and bringing on board to open up that third location in the Southeast. As Krista's business evolves, as her needs evolve, we as a financial institution are going to need to be able to offer her flexible ways to engage with and interact with us across all of her servicing needs. So let's fast forward in time. Krista's flown down to Georgia to start the process of opening up her third coffee location. She's meeting with her employees in the shop. She comes to recognize, she's feeling around and realizes that she may have misplaced her business credit card. Instead of canceling the meeting or having to leave, she's able to pull up on her phone, the actual self-servicing website, where if she wanted to go in and actually create a case or get her understand what to expect around losing her credit card, she can go ahead and do that. But in this example, she needs more flexibility. So she's going to actually start the process of initiating a live chat with N Financial. So I'm going to go ahead. She fills out some of her key contact information. And she's going to start the process of chatting with a live person directly here on this screen. I'm going to now flip over into what this experience looks like from a CSR's point of view. Again, role-specific dashboard catered specifically to me. And because I'm logged into the omni-channel chat here at the bottom, I can actually go ahead and see that incoming chat, where I can go ahead and accept that because I've been logged in to accept inbound chats. Based on some of the information that Krista was able to provide, it's able to screen pop her specific record of information so that I can kind of bring that to the fold. And here you'll notice something a little different. So just as we were looking at Krista's record earlier from a personal banker's point of view, just like we were talking about earlier with the homepage, every record is personalized to be as effective as possible to suit the needs of the stakeholder engaging with your customer. So here as a CSR, yes, that financial account information is important. Yes, that white space information is important. But for me, what I care about are all of her existing cases that she may have with us. What type of client servicing tiering models does she have with us? What are all the previous chat transcripts that she may have had with us as well? In this example, while I'm reviewing all of this information, Krista's beginning to chat her problem. Before she even hits send on that text, I'm able to pull up quickly here that same knowledge base tool to be able to surface up specific information relevant to this. If I want to copy and paste those articles here, as is relevant to her in the system, I can go ahead and do that. And here I'm going to go ahead and see her response. I'm able to provide that answer quickly. Krista says that's too long. Give me a couple hours and I'll be able to go ahead and confirm whether it truly is lost or not. I say, not a problem. Hope you find it. And I'm going to go ahead and end that chat and make a note of it here on Krista's timeline so that the team knows if I'm able to kind of switch over or go to a different call or end my shift. I know that I'm at least leaving that note so that the rest of the team has that seamless handoff the next time Krista comes to interact with us, regardless of what channel that may be. Now, let's fast forward in time and say that despite Krista's best efforts, she simply was not able to find her business credit card. And this is too important of a matter to handle via chat, and she'd prefer to talk to someone live over the phone. Now, as a CSR logged into the system, I've been logged in and have changed my status to be able to receive inbound calls. So when Krista calls that 1-800 support line, I'm able to reverse look up her phone number and see an actual screen pop of her actual record here inside of Salesforce. And now, while over the phone with her, I can pull up any particular recent cases that have taken place, as well as immediately get a good sense of all of the previous conversations that have been had across lines of business, as well as any of the previous chat transcripts that she is now referencing to me over the phone. And so because I'm able to see all of her different financial account related information, I can confirm with her directly inside of Financial Services Cloud that yes, indeed, it was her Cumulus MasterCard that she did lost. I'm going to go ahead and start the process of deactivating that here inside of the system, as well as the fact that I'm going to go ahead and alert everyone here internally that she has a pause card with us. In addition to that, I'm actually going to go ahead and start the process of launching FSE's specific service workflows and start the process of actually issuing her a new card. And so it's because this dynamic flow is able to surface up only information about Krista, I can verify which account she actually wants to issue that new card for, as well as the shipping address that we have on her file. Whether that's her billing, in this case, that's where she wants it sent. I can go ahead and start the process of creating a case and kicking off all of that automation and workflows to make sure that she gets it within those 5 business day SLAs that we have in place. Now, because that interaction has taken place, I can go ahead and log all of those associated notes here. Save that call. My call activity will now be logged on that activity timeline. And so now anytime Krista is able to interact with anyone else at the bank, so if we flip back into that personal banker view, just like that same record page, we'll see that those Financial Services Cloud specific smart alerts are now letting me know. So if she were able to walk into a branch or call her personal banker the next day, I have a good sense of what's something that she's potentially calling about specific to that service interaction. Now, we've showed you the full end-to-end capabilities that Financial Services Cloud is able to provide to your clients across different lines of business and extending that through our partner ecosystem. Now we're going to share a little bit more about some of the native dashboards and reporting capabilities that Salesforce is able to provide to you and to your executive team. Now, you just saw really a complete client lifecycle across different lines of business at the bank, all the way from referral creation to conversion opportunity, to originating a loan, all the way to providing servicing needs across multiple different channels. Now I want to kind of look at that same process, but more from an executive's point of view, and showcase the power of Salesforce's native dashboards and reports so that me, now logged into the system as the head of commercial, can better understand how my general health as a business and operational effectiveness as a business is operating. So here, as an example, I'm logged into the system as head of commercial. I could see my overall product mix. What does my commercial pipeline look like across the different stages within the loan process? What if I combine those two and better understand across my different stages, what does that actual mix look like? In addition to that, if I scroll a little bit further down, I could see some of those operational throughput and effectiveness type measures. So things like what are the average days in those different stages that we were viewing earlier on those opportunities and loan pages. Things like how many of these loans have not had any activity over the past 3 weeks. And if I combine those two different instances, I could better understand which of my opportunities are actually taking longer by combining the average days within the current stage that it's sitting in comparatively to how many days there have actually been since the last activity. In addition to that, I can go ahead and dynamically filter on specific sub-industries that I want to drill into, in particular region or geographies that I want to put some of my focus on. I'll see that all of these different dashboards and widgets are updating dynamically in real time. And I can actually go ahead and take that a step further and drill into this individual loan pipeline report so that I could better understand what does this look like across the different stages. And I could further drill in and see which of those records actually comprise of that specific stage within the process. And now here, as an executive, I can actually see that Port City Coffee loan that we were looking at earlier and where it was sitting within the actual process. So if I wanted to come in here and actually better understand what I can do in order to help, if I needed to actually go ahead and approve where this currently sits within the process, I can go ahead and do that. So that's a little bit more of that top-down type view of how can an executive not only better understand and monitor the health of their business through all of those different activities and loans and opportunities that are being generated inside of Salesforce, but then how can I drill into and start the process of collaborating and providing my assistance as an executive directly inside of Salesforce. So with that, you've seen a lot of the power of what Financial Services Cloud can offer from a personal banker's point of view, from a relationship manager's point of view, from a CSR's point of view, and now the head of commercial. And of course, through the power of our partners over at nCino and DocuSign, you're also able to see how a relationship manager was able to originate that loan and really run that entire process end to end and extend that out to provide an even more seamless servicing experience through our partnership with DocuSign, so that Krista was able to sign everything, review all of the information that she needed in a quick and effective manner to continue to expand her business. With that, I'm going to turn it back to the group to conclude and wrap up with general Q&A and go from there. Thank you everyone for your time and your attention. Take care.
Okay, so when you bring together the power of the platform with Salesforce, nCino, and DocuSign, your financial institution will be able to increase efficiency and wallet share, digitally engage with your customers, optimize your business processes, eliminate or reduce paper loan files, decrease loan close times, and access reports and dashboards with real-time data. So we do have a question real quickly as we get into Q&A here. Can you share some more information about the newly built DocuSign and nCino integration? The answer is yes, of course. And we'll touch base with you after the webinar to get that scheduled. I do have a couple other questions. Well, in the next, I think we have 7 minutes or so left. So a couple of questions. This one is to Stephen. Can you explain in a little more detail how Salesforce keeps pace with innovation and change in the financial industry?
Sure. Thanks for that. Great demo, by the way. That was really awesome. I love seeing that end to end. And you know, it really speaks to innovation, right? A core value for Salesforce and all these other solutions as well, as they continue to one, verticalize and innovate also. A big part historically for Salesforce and others has been acquisitions. So clearly things like MuleSoft, Slack, which is still pending, Tableau, and Quip, those things have driven a lot of this. But beyond that, the App Exchange, the 3 annual releases, prioritizing updates in those, training and solutions like My Trailhead. And I'd say the biggest source of that, especially from the verticalization in the banking community, has been, right, the user community generating ideas and the Salesforce community, that much of that is really what prioritizes and informs the product development. So they're industry-focused teams that are bubbling all of that to the surface and delivering those 3 annual releases to continue that innovation. So I think the Salesforce community is a huge part of that broad ecosystem driving innovation.
Great. This next question is for Kevin from nCino. How can financial institutions meet the needs of both their customers and employees in this digital-first remote world?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michael. I think over the last year, we've all seen a rapid acceleration of this digital first imperative, right? I think the industry was definitely headed in that direction, albeit maybe at a slower pace. And COVID obviously accelerated things. So, I really think at this point, cloud-based digital capabilities are no longer a nice to have, but really are table stakes. And so if we think about the statistics you shared earlier, it showed customer experience dropping pretty far down on that list of priorities, but I'm not really sure that's the case. I think these digital initiatives are really the how we continue to put customers first and continue to deliver on what Jason called the anywhere economy, which I love that term, and I'm going to steal it and use it. So we all know that banks are balancing the cost and scale of new technology implementation projects with the never-ending mandate to grow deposits, manage and monitor portfolios and risk, meet their customers and members where they are, and then really meet the needs of employees who it looks like are going to continue working remote, at least in some capacity. So it's really these technology upgrades that allow institutions to remain competitive in a customer-focused marketplace that has shifted rapidly to the digital world. And I think that shift is really here to stay for years to come.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. I do have one follow-up question, maybe for you or Jason. It's kind of a nCino DocuSign question is, how much configuration is needed to integrate DocuSign into nCino? Yeah, so that's a great question. And as with any implementation question, I'm not sure anyone's going to like the answer, but it sort of depends. So it looks like that question came from Steve. Steve, we're happy to reach out and talk through that with our partners at DocuSign in just a little bit more detail. Hard to go in blind here with an estimate, but happy to engage in some further conversation on that. Perfect. I do have a question for Jason. With COVID and PPP last year was a reactive year for most institutions to meet customers where they are at. Where do banks go from here? Yeah, a good question. And I kind of touched on this prior to the demo, right? Many customers or employees are not going to want to go back to the old way of doing work or engaging with businesses, and so they're going to begin to demand this flexibility to engage anywhere. Back to that anywhere economy, right? Anywhere, anytime, and any device. And it's funny. I think Salesforce's CEO Benioff just had a post where he's customer success anywhere, right? I mean, I think this is just going to be something that's extraordinarily prevalent going forward. And again, like I said, this isn't entirely new, but it's certainly getting accelerated. So, what this means for banks, for what we're seeing, for those who have already leaned in and adopted DocuSign, we're seeing an acceleration of new use cases being rolled out kind of throughout the enterprise, front office, back office. There's agreements and contracts just throughout enterprises, and being able to automate and digitize those is we're seeing an acceleration there for sure. But we're also beginning to see enterprises build on that end-to-end platform experience that really ties together the front, middle, and back office, right? Using our eSign solution along with DocuSign CLM or Contract Lifecycle Management. Some common expansion areas we see in tandem with Salesforce are, treasury management, digitizing the mortgage process, and customer portals. And then finally, I think for some banking customers that are even further down the digital transformation journey, we're seeing an increased interest in our AI solutions, which are giving organizations much better insight into their contracts and agreements, really allowing them to mitigate risk and satisfy those compliance requirements. Kind of to put a bow on that, if you think, I don't know, I don't care what financial literature you subscribe to or digest, there's a ton of fodder out there about this year there being just a ton of M&A activity. And with M&A activity, generally comes a process in which you have to analyze or sift through tons of, whether it's vendor contracts or consumer contracts, customer contracts, or agreements of the institution that you're acquiring. Without AI, it's a very manual process, months of work. With AI, obviously, that's certainly streamlined
and cut down to weeks. And so we're seeing a lot of interest in that as we roll this solution out and really integrate it into the DocuSign Agreement Cloud.
Great, thank you. And I know we're at time, but there was a question that was asked and I'd really like to answer it. And I think this one's for Kevin as well. It's, how does the platform integrate into banking cores? Is it core agnostic? Does the platform handle loan servicing, or is it all done via the core services?
Yeah, great question. And so the short answer is we're absolutely core agnostic. A little bit longer answer is there's a number of different ways we can integrate to the core, whether it's from a nightly batch feed perspective to nCino, or with real-time on-demand integration when we start getting into booking deposit accounts and originating consumer loans. So that's a part of a much longer conversation. So happy to get that on the books and continue the conversation. But to the last question there, we can absolutely support the servicing element as well.
Awesome, thank you. I'm glad we were able to ask that last question. That was definitely an important one. So looks like we're at time now. So if we didn't address your questions, we'll be sure to answer them after the webinar. In closing, I'd like to just thank everyone for joining us today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email any one of us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day.